Welcome to release 3 of my Rhythmic knit along. This week we are continuing with stranded colourwork in the form of a rib pattern. So this is called Chromatic and it's inspired by the repetitive pattern of piano keys. I love the texture because you can visualise that sort of two-tone piano key, and I think it's really nice to break up the sort of flat stocking stitch squares in the blanket and add a bit of texture. So this week is a bit different if you're knitting the cushion or the blanket. So for the cushion, we'll be knitting full squares, and that's for the back of your cushion where you're knitting 6 of them. But for the blanket, we'll be knitting half squares, these rectangles here, and we'll be knitting 12. But they're nice small projects, so it shouldn't seem too daunting if we're knitting 12 there. So in the tutorial, we'll be learning some tips and techniques to perfect this 2-colour rib. And all it is sort of practicing your knit and purl on the right side and wrong side of your work to create this nice 2-colour texture. For release 3, we're now adding a bit of texture to our stranded colour work. So this is worked. Row 1, we'll be knitting 1 and purling 1. For row 2, we will be purling all stitches. In row 3, we introduce the stranded colour work, where we'll be knitting 1 stitch in yarn A and then purling 1 stitch in yarn B, and that creates this bump texture in the pattern. Rows 4, we continue that colour work pattern, and then for rows 5, in yarns B, we'll be knit 1, purl 1 across the rows again. Row 6, we'll purl all stitches. Row 7, we change our yarn again and knit 1, purl 1, and then rows 8, we'll purl all our stitches, and that creates our 8-row pattern repeat. I'm just going to demonstrate 1 row so we know how to do stranded colour work using knit 1, purl 1. So with the right side facing, I'm going to knit my first stitch using my yarn A, and then I'm going to pick up my yarn B. I'm going to bring it between my needles to the front of the work and purl 1 stitch in my yarn B. Then I'm going to bring it back round to the back of my work and leave it there. I'll then pick up my yarn A again and knit 1 stitch, so we're carrying our yarn at the back of the work again. And then purling 1 stitch in yarn B, I'll bring to the front of the work, purl 1 stitch, bring it back round to the back of the work and continue working in my rib that way. So bringing the yarn to the front of the work when I'm using yarn B, purling 1 stitch, bringing it back round between the needles to the back of the work, and always carrying the yarn at the back of the work to create the stranded colour work in rib. I hope you enjoy making your 3rd stranded colourwork square. Don't forget to share your progress in our Row and Connect Make Along group on Facebook, and see you next time.